It's time to defeat the final boss standing in the way of both our customers solving their problem and from us finishing this IPTO model. Step 4 of IPTO, the O, is obstacles. So we've covered identity, problems, and dreams. The last thing you want to know are the obstacles, hence final boss, get it? The obstacles that the market faces. And put simply, I define obstacles as what's stopping them from solving their problems and achieving their dreams. And I got problems and dreams in red there to point out that they're the two previous parts of this IPTO model, right? So you found their problems, you found their dreams. What's stopping them from getting from one to the other? So it's not quite the same as problems, because sometimes people get a little confused on this. How is obstacles different from problems? Well, to give you some examples, they don't know how to solve the problem, okay? That could be an obstacle. It's not the problem itself, it's that they don't know how to solve the problem. Or maybe they don't have time. That could be another obstacle. Or they can't afford it, so money's an obstacle. Or they're overwhelmed by their options, so that overwhelming, too many choices is an obstacle. Or they're afraid, that's an obstacle. Or they have misconceptions, that's an obstacle. So you see, what these obstacles are things that are stopping them, for whatever reason, from solving their problem and achieving their dream. And the reason you want to know this is that in your copy, you're going to need to have to show how the product can help them overcome these obstacles, right? And just quickly, one thing you do not want to find here is that they don't care, right? If you find this, well, it means you misidentified the problem. So how do we uncover or define obstacles? Well, again, I'm going to use some questions that you can use. What is stopping them from achieving the dream? Why have they put up with the problem for so long? So, I mean, that's a question that you might ask someone in an interview if you're actually getting to that level and you want to uncover the obstacles that are stopping them. You say, well, why have you put up with this for so long? And they'll tell you, well, I just didn't know there were solutions out there. Or I just couldn't afford to fix it, you know? And that will uncover it. Who or what do they blame for having the problem? So this sort of overlaps with the psychographic part of their identity, like people that they blame. But sometimes people will blame a certain group or a person for having a particular problem. I mean, maybe one example is being political. If you, I don't know, if you're doing like an investing product and you're writing to conservatives with a lot of money, maybe they like blame the Democrats in government for passing these tax bills that are taking away all their money, right? So that might be something you'd put under obstacles, and it might be just something that you need to deal with in their psyche to redirect their attention from focusing on that to actually showing them how your product can actually give them what they want. What are they afraid will happen if they take action to solve the problem? So that is another barrier that can stop people. Maybe they're afraid that if they solve the problem, something bad's going to happen. That's an obstacle. Is there anything that they are confused about with the solution? So that's that thing of not knowing or having misconceptions. This is a very common thing to find, that they just don't understand the solution. Are there any other solutions for the problem? And how many of them, if any, do they know of? So we'll actually get to this later on in what you need to know about the competition, but this is actually quite important too. For example, if you are selling sort of a commodity service, something that a lot of other people offer, well, it's going to be an obstacle to people picking it if they think there's 10 other people who do the same thing as you, right? So that's another obstacle that your market are going to face in using your service. Have they tried anything else to fix the problem? And if so, what was their experience? This is actually a really important question, and a lot of other market research systems, well, not systems, a lot of other market research modules or whatever will actually break this out into its own thing. Because, and especially in some markets, like in, maybe supplements or BizOp or whatever, you get kind of buyers who are just churning through a whole heap of solutions because 90% of the stuff sold in those markets is just crap and doesn't work. So they keep buying it and they're moving on to the next one. And they're not committed either. So you'll have these customers who have this massive history of trying stuff that hasn't worked. And that is going to be an obstacle to getting them to try yours as well. Have they been burned before with some other promised solution? So that can happen a lot. We When I worked for an investing newsletter, that was quite a common thing. People had been ripped off by other investment newsletters, by financial advisors. They were very mistrustful of anyone who was promising to show them what to do with their money. And so that was a big obstacle. Do they feel like they don't have time to solve the problem? And why? What does their busy day look like? You want to dig in if you find that. So time is another obstacle. And especially for things like starting a business, if you're selling a course on starting a business or something, that's going to be a big one. Do they feel like they can't solve the problem until they know something in particular? And if so, what? Do they have like unanswered questions or things that they don't know that they need to know to proceed with the purchase? So that is another obstacle. So hopefully you're getting an idea for what obstacles looks like in this sense that I'm using it. Is there something that, if they knew it, would instantly make them realize this product could give them their dream? So that's sort of the corollary of the one I just told you, right? Is there a fact that you find when talking to buyers, they're all like, oh, as soon as I realized X, it was a no-brainer? If so, you want to uncover that, because not knowing X is an obstacle. Do they not believe this product will work to solve their problem? Maybe they just don't believe you. Maybe you need to load up on more proof in your marketing. That's what that would tell you. Are they worried about the price of solving the problem or achieving the dream? So maybe people are worried about cost. And do they have any misconceptions stopping them from solving the problem? Again, if these questions aren't doing it for you, just make your own. I'm just showing you the pattern of thinking, okay? You can come up with your own questions that are right for the situation. I'm just showing you how we define the problem. The obstacles. The problem is a very specific word in this system. Okay, once you have done this step with obstacles, that means you know who the market is, their identity. You know what they're suffering from, their problems. You know what they want, their dreams. And you know what's stopping them from escaping their suffering and attaining their dreams. That's the obstacle. So you got your IPDO here. You now have a ready-to-go sales pitch. Let me show you what I mean. You can say, I help identity who have problem to achieve dream, even if you struggle with obstacles. Okay? So let me give you a few examples of this. I help dog owners whose dogs won't stop barking overnight to stop your dog's barking so your neighbors don't keep getting furious at you, even if your dog won't listen to a thing you say right now. So there's your problem. So your identity is dog owners. Your problem is dogs don't stop barking. The dream is to have the dog stop barking and neighbors not getting mad. And the obstacle is that the dog isn't listening to you right now. Or I help new mums whose babies just won't sleep to get their babies to sleep through the night and enjoy a full 8 hours rest, even if you've tried everything, including night feeds, cry it out, and fancy gadgets. Or we help freelance graphic designers making less than 30 grand a year who struggle with the feast or famine cycle to get booked with high-paying dream clients who respect you, even if you have no idea how to find great leads right now. Now look, these aren't necessarily the best sales pitches, right? And especially in the more businessy niches, these formulae have been overused to the point where you're going to have to flip things around a bit. Nor am I saying that you should only have one thing for identity, one thing for problems, one thing for dreams, and one thing for obstacles. Like ideally, you're going to have a big list for each of these things. But what I'm trying to show you here is that this IPTO model gives you the basic building blocks of a good solid sales pitch, which can be as short as one line, like you're looking at here, right? If you take your IPDO, your identity, problems, dreams, obstacles, and you phrase it in this way, you have a little sales pitch. And that just sort of shows you, I'm not telling you that to say, go and write your copy like that, but I'm just pointing out that that is how you know that this model kind of sums up what you need to know. Because that's all you need to tell someone to sell them. If you boil it down, right? If you have a really low friction product, you can just boil it down to this one line pitch. And by the way, this is all a lot easier than it sounds, right? So I know it's taken a little while to explain all this stuff, and I'm kind of rambling on with all these examples and so on, but that's only because I want this course to be a reference guide, even if your brand's spanking new to this. The truth is, all these things, identity, problems, dreams, obstacles, they're not actually that hard to understand. Once you have the IPTO model in your head, it becomes second nature. It is for me, right? And using this model, which I genuinely do, I mean, on every single copywriting job I've done for the last few years, I have used this model. I can usually do basic copy based on this in a matter of minutes in some cases. And I actually did this. Well, I had a friend who was a dog trainer. She asked me to help her with her website. I didn't need to do any fancy research, right? I just grilled her a little on what she did. I took a quick look at her last month's worth of website inquiries to see what problems people had and what they wanted. And in a few minutes, I had my IPDA model filled out and I was ready to write her homepage. So there you have it. That is where we are right now. So we've done our client survey, we've done that, and we have now finished off broken iPod market profiling. I know it feels like that took a long time, but the other ones are going to be a little quicker, and we're going to get through this understanding the market. So next, we're going to move on to what I call the journey to this moment.